You'd be sleeping on the street if it weren't for me, my dad sneered, tossing his empty plate across the table. For 5 years, my family made me believe I was an unwanted financial burden. But they had no idea I was the only reason their mortgage cleared, their cars ran, and the lights stayed on. So on Sunday night, while they slept, I packed my life into 3 bags, severed every financial link, and slipped away. When they woke up on Monday morning at 8 o'clock sharp, their entire world went completely dark. The dining room chandelier flickered, casting harsh shadows over plates of half-eaten steak. My younger brother, Tyler, chuckled, scrolling endlessly through his phone while wearing a designer hoodie I had secretly paid for. Dad leaned back, swirling his scotch, his eyes locking onto mine with pure condescension. Look at you, 24 years old, hiding behind your laptop all day, contributing nothing to this roof over your head. If I kicked you out today, you'd be homeless by nightfall. Mom didn't look up from her napkin. She never defended me. To them, I was the ghost in the hallway, the quiet older brother who didn't throw parties or bring home trophies. I kept my expression completely blank, chewing my food slowly. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my voice remained steady when I said, "You're right, Dad. I guess I really depend on you guys." They laughed it off, completely blind to the truth. They had no idea that tomorrow morning, everything they owned would vanish. They had no idea who was actually paying the bills. While they saw me as a sluggish freeloader staring at a screen all day, I was quietly pulling in 6 figures as a senior remote data analyst for an international tech firm. My earnings went directly into a joint family checking account that my father had insisted on setting up years ago under the guise of building family unity. In reality, it was a financial trap. He had tied the house mortgage, utility bills, high-speed internet, smart home security systems, and auto insurances directly to my secondary account, while his and my mother's paychecks flowed into private accounts reserved for their luxury cars, country club dues, and designer clothes. For years, I let it slide because I loved them, believing I was acting as the glue that kept our household secure. But tonight's dinner shattered that illusion entirely. They weren't just taking my financial support for granted. They were actively mocking the very hand that fed them. As I sat in my room packing my remaining clothes into duffel bags, I pulled up the household budgeting dashboard on my laptop. The numbers didn't lie. Without my continuous stream of income injecting thousands of dollars into their automated bills every single month, their entire house of cards would instantly collapse. My father thought he was the master provider keeping me off the streets, but the harsh reality was the exact opposite. They were entirely dependent on my secret generosity. And by tomorrow morning, they were going to find out what real homelessness felt like when the safety net was completely yanked away. By midnight, my stealth escape plan was already locked in motion. I didn't rush. Precision was everything. Weeks prior, anticipating a moment exactly like this, I had quietly secured a lease on a sleek, fully furnished high-rise apartment downtown. My name alone was on the contract, completely isolated from any family ties. Next came the digital dismantling of their life. I logged into my secure banking portal and meticulously scheduled the exact sequence of events for Monday morning. First, the automated monthly transfer to the joint household account was permanently blocked. Second, the auto-pay mandates for their mortgage, electricity, water, internet, and car insurance were immediately revoked, shifting back to their respective primary accounts I knew sat nearly empty due to their reckless spending. I even unlinked my phone number from the family mobile plan, ready to port it over to an independent carrier at dawn. Every single lifeline they had exploited was systematically cut off at the root. They thought they controlled my survival, but I had engineered an airtight exit strategy right under their noses. As I zipped my final duffel bag and carried it quietly down to my car, a profound sense of calm washed over me. The anxiety that had gripped my chest during dinner completely vanished, replaced by cold, clear-eyed liberation. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, their pristine, effortless world would hit a brick wall. They were about to learn a very hard lesson about who was actually holding up the roof over their heads, and I wouldn't be anywhere around to catch them when they fell. At 2:30 a.m., the house was dead silent, save for the rhythmic snoring of my father down the hall.
Perfect.
This was the moment of truth. I didn't turn on a single overhead light, relying only on the pale glow of my phone screen to guide my footsteps through the familiar hallway I was walking for the very last time. Quietly, methodically, I carried my duffel bags down the stairs, one by one, placing them gently in the trunk of my car parked safely around the corner. I left behind every single piece of clothing, gadget, and gift they had ever bought me, wanting a completely clean slate with zero lingering attachments. Back inside for the final sweep, I walked into the kitchen, the exact spot where my father had casually humiliated me just hours earlier. On the center island, right beside his empty scotch glass, I left my old house key resting alone on a folded napkin. No note. No dramatic farewell letter. Silence was a far more powerful message than anything I could write. By 4 a.m., I slid into the driver's seat of my car, my hands steady on the steering wheel. With a single tap on my phone screen, I executed the final digital command, severing the last automated financial tether to their account. As the engine hummed to life, I took one last look at the dark, imposing house that had kept me prisoner for years. I shifted into drive, pulled away from the curb, and vanished into the pre-dawn dark, ready for a Monday morning that would change everything forever. At exactly 7:30 a.m., the digital smart locks on the front door clicked violently, and the whole house plunged into sudden, eerie silence. The high-speed internet router blinked red and died. The central heating and air conditioning units sputtered once and shut down completely. Because every single utility, subscription, and automated smart home service was tied directly to the digital lifeline I had severed, the entire house was instantly stripped of modern electricity and connectivity. Downstairs, the heavy footsteps of my father began pacing across the hardwood floor. I wasn't there to see it, but I could picture his growing confusion as he tried to check his phone, only to find a carrier notification stating that the family mobile plan had been suspended due to an invalid payment method. By 8 a.m., the panic truly set in. My brother Tyler woke up to a dead phone and a pitch-black bedroom, stumbling out into the hallway to find my mother already in a frenzy trying to turn on the kitchen lights. Nothing happened. The refrigerator hum was gone, the coffee maker was dead, and the Wi-Fi was completely offline. Furious and disoriented, my father stormed up the stairs to bang on my door, demanding to know what I had broken. When he threw my bedroom door open, expecting to find me slouched over my laptop as usual, he was met with total emptiness. The bed was meticulously made, the closet was stripped bare, and the room was completely devoid of life. Confused and unnerved, he walked back down to the kitchen. That was when my mother spotted it on the center island, my old house key, resting right beside his scotch glass on a clean white napkin. No explanation, no warning, just an empty house and a dead digital world. My father grabbed his keys and rushed out the door, his panic mounting as he drove straight to the bank and the local utility office, expecting a simple clerical error that could be fixed with a wave of his credit card. Instead, reality hit him like a freight train. The customer service representative at the bank coldly informed him that the primary funding account had been permanently closed and all linked auto-pay mandates completely revoked by the sole account holder, me. Worse still, when he checked the balance of his own personal accounts, he realized they were practically hollow, entirely drained by years of country club fees, luxury car payments, and dinners out while leaving the household bills entirely to me. He couldn't afford the mortgage. He couldn't afford the utilities. The massive lifestyle they had flaunted for years was entirely built on my secret financial foundation, and it had just evaporated into thin air. Back at the house, my mother and Tyler were sitting in the dark kitchen, staring blankly at each other as reality began to sink in. My phone, which had been buzzing quietly in my new apartment, suddenly lit up with a secondary notification email. I opened it to find a flood of panic messages from my father. The tone had shifted dramatically from arrogant condescension to outright terror. "Where are you?" one email read. "The bank says our accounts are locked, the power is shut off, and we don't know what's happening. Please come home and fix this right away." I stared at the screen, sipping my fresh morning coffee in absolute peace. They wanted me back not because they missed me, but because they were helpless without the very person they had spent years calling a freeloader. You'd be sleeping on the street if it weren't for me, my dad sneered, tossing his empty plate across the table. For 5 years, my family made me believe I was an unwanted financial burden. But they had no idea I was the only reason their mortgage cleared, their cars ran, and the lights stayed on. So on Sunday night, while they slept, I packed my life into 3 bags, severed every financial link, and slipped away. When they woke up on Monday morning at 8 o'clock sharp, their entire world went completely dark. My phone kept buzzing against the wooden table, flashing with missed calls and frantic text messages from a family that had suddenly realized their entire world depended on my existence. But I didn't answer. I simply silenced the ringer, flipped the phone over, and looked out the sparkling window of my new apartment. Later that afternoon, I finally checked a single voicemail my father left. His voice sounded smaller, stripped of all its usual arrogance and cruel authority. He pleaded with me to come back, admitting they had no idea how to handle the bills, the mortgage, or the sudden reality crashing down around them. I listened to the end, took a slow breath, and replied with a single, calm text message. You told me I'd be homeless without you. I guess we both found out the truth. Then I blocked their numbers for good. Within weeks, the house of cards completely collapsed. Unable to afford the mortgage or maintain their extravagant lifestyle, my family was forced to sell the house and downsize into a tiny, cramped apartment, finally facing the real world on their own terms. As for me, I sit here in my quiet, peaceful home, completely free from the emotional prison I endured for years. I didn't leave out of spite. I left to survive. They wanted to treat me like a burden, so I stopped carrying them. And for the first time in my life, that silence is absolute perfection.